So, what really gets you going at work? Let's be honest, it's not always about the paycheck, is it? Today, we're going to dig into the hidden architecture of motivation to figure out what truly drives us to do our best.
I mean, think about it for a second. We've all been there, right? You get that moment of genuine recognition from a boss or a teammate, and it just lights you up inside, sometimes even more than a cash reward would. It feels different. And there's a very real reason for that. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack in this explainer. We're going to break down the actual science behind that feeling and look at the different forces pulling the strings on our behavior and performance at work. All right, here's our roadmap. We'll start with what I call the motivation puzzle, then we'll look at the two big engines that power motivation. After that, we'll get into the personal filter, why we're all so different, then shift to the leader's playbook and wrap it all up with your key takeaway. Okay, first up, the motivation puzzle. The big idea here is that we have to move beyond this old school one-size-fits-all approach, because what works for one person might do nothing for someone else. And to really solve that puzzle, we need to understand the two fundamental engines of motivation. Let's dig into the spectrum that they both operate on. So the formal term for this is the spectrum of motivation. But really, all that means is it's the whole range of things that get us out of bed in the morning, from the stuff that fires you up on the inside to the rewards you get from the outside world. And here's how those two engines break down. On one side, you've got intrinsic motivation. This is the internal stuff, right? It's that feeling of purpose, the satisfaction of personal growth, the simple power of being recognized for your work. Then, on the other side, you have extrinsic motivation, your external rewards. This is the more obvious stuff, your salary, bonuses, perks. Now, both are absolutely important, but they push very different buttons. But here's the twist, and this is where it gets really fascinating. These motivators don't land the same way for everyone. They all pass through what we can call a personal filter. And this personal filter, it's made up of three really key layers that totally shape how we respond to things. We're talking about our core personality traits, our generational experiences, and of course, our cultural backgrounds. For example, think about personality. Someone who just thrives on collaboration, they're going to be fired up by a tricky team project. But for a highly competitive person, nothing beats the thrill of hitting the top of that sales leaderboard. Our personality is that first powerful filter. Next step, you've got generational differences. A baby boomer might be really motivated by the stability and status of a corner office. Meanwhile, a Gen Z employee might value the flexibility to work from anywhere in the world way more. You see, their life experiences create totally different expectations of work. And finally, our cultural background plays a massive role. In some cultures, public praise at a company meeting is the ultimate sign of respect. In others, a quiet, private thank you from a manager holds so much more weight. Understanding these little nuances is just crucial. Okay, so this is all great theory, right? But how do you actually use this information? Well, that brings us to the leader's playbook, where we turn all this theory into real-world action. The goal here is crystal clear. The best leaders, they don't just have one style. They've got a whole toolkit. They get that these variations exist, and they adapt their approach to really connect with every single person on their team. And it really breaks down into three simple steps. First, just take the time to understand what truly drives each person. Ask them. Second, be flexible. Adapt your style. Don't just rely on what motivates you. And third, and this is where the magic happens, align those personal motivators with the bigger goals of the team and the organization. Which brings us right to our key takeaway. This is all about putting these pieces together to build a team that isn't just productive, but is genuinely deeply motivated and engaged. You can think of this matrix as your ultimate cheat sheet. So if you're looking for long-term engagement and loyalty, you really want to focus on those intrinsic drivers, things like purpose and growth. Want to make your people feel truly seen and valued? Well, that's all about recognition. And when you need to drive a very specific short-term result, that's the sweet spot for extrinsic stuff, like incentives and bonuses. It's just about using the right tool for the job. So we've spent this time talking about how to motivate others, how to understand your team. But let me just leave you with this final question. Take a second to look inward. What's in your engine? What really motivates you? Because understanding what drives you is honestly the very first step to understanding anyone else.